All right. And intro is rolling. I'll let you hear it. Okay, absolutely. Oh, hold up. Got about that part.
Do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or underwriters, donors, or sponsors.
All right, take it away.
Yo, y'all know what it is, man. It's the boy, the kid, the man, the myth, the 11, the GOAT, the one and only Moody was here. And yes, it is another Moody Monday. I know y'all probably wondering, like, man, he's not in the studio today. I am not, man. I'm off location, man. I'm actually in Chicago. It's very snowy, very cold. So y'all make sure y'all bundle up down in Jonesboro and think of me whenever y'all do. Man, another great Moody Monday. We're ready to get this day started. And of course, I'm going to do my best to make sure I bring this weekend the best way I can, as I usually do. I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit different because we used to having a mic in me. I'm not used to having this camera right in front of my face. But if there had to be a camera in somebody's face, it might as well be your boys, you know what I mean? So last week, we were talking about relationships and everything we kind of, and that everything went in that. We had some great questions. You know, some of the things that we touched on, it was something that we were looking forward to speaking on each and every time. But we're going to kind of follow up again this week on relationships and kind of follow what it looks like in a friendship setting. You feel me? Because a lot of times, you know, relationships come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. You know what I mean? And a lot of times when we think of relationships, we only think of it in a romantic sense. But like I said, relationships, they come in all shapes and sizes and forms. So today, we're going to talk about friendships and what they look like. Because one of the things about friendships, I feel like, is when we speak of friendships, especially when it comes to mental health and those times that we are looking at friendships, we're looking at them from a sense of having a certain level of support. When we have a certain level of support, that's when we look at those friends to be there, to be that anchor whenever those times come. A lot of things for me is whenever those moments came into my life that I was kind of going through certain periods that I was definitely wasn't at my best and I was needing, you know, that emotional support. There was also times that I was needing logical support. And that's something that I feel like we don't speak on too often. When we think about friends, and like I said, that's when it comes to a sense of having that emotional support, we often forget that there's a logical sense that comes into that too. For me, I already knew I was not making the best logical decisions. Like I said, there were friends there for me whenever it came for support. But at the end of the day, I wasn't in the mindset that I needed, that I was making logical decisions for certain situations. I got a story time. And I'm gonna go ahead. I contemplated if I wanted to tell this story because it wasn't my finest moment. But you know what? I gotta be honest. I gotta be vulnerable. I gotta be transparent. I'm gonna keep it a buck as I per usual do, especially with everybody out here for the KLEK 102.5 FM family. So before we get into more in depth into the emotional and logical support, we got a little story time today. If y'all see me after this, don't judge me. Just let me just know I am flawed just like everybody else. So here goes story time for today. So this is probably, like I said, I think it's about 2-3 years ago at this point. Like I said, that was when I was at the height of like a lot of my depression at the time, for me speaking personally. I know y'all probably look at the smile every day thinking like, man, I can't believe you're depressed. You were ever depressed. But yes, I did get to the point. Now, the thing about me is that whenever I'm the type of person I'm either super cold or I'm super hot. You know, there's really no in between with me. I'm one of those people that's like I'm on 0 or I'm on 100. And it was one of those days that I was on 100 emotionally, and I was definitely not in a state to be thinking logically. So I was making some irrational decisions. So this is where story time comes in. And I'm not going to say any names, because like I said, it's something that was, it was very personal, and definitely the other people involved, you know, I don't want to definitely like shine anything on that. But here it goes, the story. So at this time, I had somebody else living with me. I had a family member of mine, and another friend living with me. So I'm in a household with 2 people. And at the time, like I said, the things were, it was strange. The pandemic had just hit me. It was affecting me in the worst way. And I had decided, you know what, I'm going to move to Atlanta. In order for me to move to Atlanta, I was going to have to actually kind of like get everything organized on my end so I can make that move transition as smoothly as possible. So it wasn't as effective. It was the best financial move I could make at the time. And one of the things that played into that is that I needed to rent out the house, essentially. Rent out my house, like I said, where me, one of my family members and another friend was staying. So, you know, I gave those two other people, the two other tenants in the house, I gave them ample time to like kind of get everything situated in order. You know, at the time I didn't have to pay no rent, I didn't have to pay no bills or nothing like that. You know, they were just, you know, living there good, you know what I'm saying? And no debt. Cause like I said, at the time I know they were trying to get their feet up under them as well. So I wasn't even stressing about it by any means. But like I said, time came for me to start getting ready to make that transition to Atlanta. So I was like, hey, you know what, you guys can, you know, just live here and just take over the mortgage and pay the rent towards me. They're like, cool, all right. So I'm like, you know, how about this last month, we start implementing it before I leave so y'all can just kind of get used to it, get adjusted to it, you know, right? And they're a little bit younger than me, you know, and a significantly little bit younger than me. So, you know, it wasn't one of those things to where they were like, just, I mean, they're adults, but they're not like adults like I have to look at myself. But, you know, they were definitely, you know, adults, you know. But so the first month come, didn't make the rent. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, what happened? And they was like, you know, hey, I've just, you know, couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, a couple of things came up, you know, they weren't expecting. I was like, all right, cool. Let's do it next month. Next month, same thing. Something else came up and something else came up. The way this was set up and the way that was set up, still no rent again. So I'm like, all right, I got like one more month at this point before I'm actually gonna try to, you know, move and get out of there. So I gotta like make something happen. And right before I was about to, that last month, there was like, you know, they decided they didn't want to keep the house. So I'm like, bruh, I done spent all this time, you know, with the expectation of you guys like gonna be living here. And so that way I didn't have anything else set up and planned. So now here I am back at square one. No renter in place, ready to roll. I'm trying to make a move. I got nothing on the table, nothing I can really do at all. So I'm like, all right, well, okay. I said, well, I need y'all out in a month. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, this is like a moving timeline. I know y'all probably, I thought he said like a month ago it was about to leave. Trust me, if I had been, I would have been gone 2 months before where I was in the point of this story at this time. So at this point, like I said, I was like, all right, y'all got a month to leave, just get your stuff together. You know what I'm saying? Find y'all a place and go. During this time, I was, like I said, I was spending a lot of time already in Atlanta. So, you know, I really wasn't like kind of like just keep it up with them on a day-to-day basis. So probably like 3 weeks into the time they're supposed to move out, I went back home and visited, and I realized there was like no boxes, there wasn't no tape. It didn't, you know, it didn't even smell like moving was going on up in there. I'm like, what? It felt even more comfortable then than it did before I left. So I'm like, I don't see no U-Haul boxes, I don't see no Home Depot boxes, I don't see nothing going on. You know what I'm saying? Nothing getting wrapped up by any means. So I'm like, hey, you know, got about a week, you know what I mean? Got about a week before it's time to get up out of here. So the week came and they was like, we needed like another month, but they didn't ask or nothing like that. So I'm like, come on guys. I'm like, y'all really hurting me right now. I'm like, I'm trying to like make some things happen. I'm trying to like, you know, move forward with it. I said, all right, y'all got one more month. Same thing happened. About 3 weeks in, I go back to my home. No boxes, no tape, no dollies, no U-Haul, no nothing. So I'm thinking like, all right, at this point, I'm realizing that I'm kind of like getting taken advantage of by somebody there, like I said, who was, like I said, somebody I really love, and to this day still really love, and something that like we still kind of got to work through it or not. But that's another story for another day. But it wasn't nothing there, wasn't nothing going on. So I was like, at this point, I'm hot or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yo, I told you, you need to like disrespect me at this point. Now, like, you really holding me up and putting me in a bad position. And they was basically not going. It was like on some real squatter type deal. So I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm really having a situation where I got a squatting with my own family member type of deal or whatnot. So I'm like, yo, I'm stuck type of deal. So now this is where the logical, emotional stuff comes in. So at this point, like I said, I done tried to be nice, tried to offer assistance. I tried to do everything I can. At this point, that's going to be better. Just put them in a better situation. So then I was like, yo, I need y'all to like really get up out of here, you know, or else I'm going to have to like, you know, do what I got to do in order to get y'all out of here. Basically came to the point that they were like, he ain't going to do nothing type of deal. So I'm like, what? Who ain't going to do nothing? I'm like, I'm Moody. I'm like, please do not take this smile and this pretty face for like nothing less than what it is, man. If I say I'm going to do something, I have to do something. So then I gotta do something at this point. So, like I said, I was like, yo, I said, if y'all don't move out, be out here by the time I get back to Jonesboro over the weekend, I was like, I'm gonna burn all y'all stuff. I said, I'm gonna put it in a barrel. I'm gonna put all the clothes in there, all your goods and stuff in there. I'm just gonna burn it all up. And then I said, I'm just gonna stand and look at it and just gonna be like, we didn't even have to get to this point, but I'm gonna have to do it. And I'm one of those people. No matter what I say, if I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Even in the moment I regret I'm gonna do it, as I'm doing it, I still gotta follow through to it. Because in the way I was raised in the streets, your word is everything and your word is bond. So if you say something, you're gonna do something. You gotta do it, even if you don't even want to do it when it comes down to it. Like I said, guys, it's just what it is. I did it. I said it. Wait, I didn't do it. I said it. So day comes and I made my threat. I put my threat out there and let everybody know in the house, like, yo, if this comes to, if I come back and y'all ain't did nothing, this is what's gonna happen. Sure enough, I come home. I come home. I get in the house and nothing. No boxes. No U-Haul. No tape. No dollies. No nothing. Nothing has been done. So now I'm like, man, I gotta really stand up on this thread I done made now. So I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to do this, but I was like, I gotta do this. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I was at a point in my life that really, everything else was going like in decline. It was one of those things that it was something after something after something after something after something. So I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I walk in the house, and as soon as I come in the house, one of them woke up. And they saw me. They were shocked. You can see it in their face, like, oh no. It was like, Dio is home. And that's what everybody, my family called me. Oh my God, Dio is home. So when I was like, all right. So I walked in. I told my son, he was with me. I said, man, just, be quiet. I got to go run and do something real quick. Anyway, I leave. As I'm walking out the door, I could hear them whispering. They was like, hey, Dio's home. And I heard my family member said, well, he ain't gonna do nothing. And that's the edited clean version. It was more profane in there. And that was one of the things that also took me off guard. That was the first time I heard somebody, that person in particularly, like curse at me, curse towards me. So it shook me. I couldn't even believe that there was like this person that I had like raised up from like a little baby had even said some words like that towards me. So then that just added fuel to the fire. No pun intended. So the first thing I was deciding I'm gonna do, so I'm like, oh yeah, now at this point I gotta do it. But I had to go run errand first. I had to go run an errand first in order to do this. But like I had all intentions, like whenever I got back, I was gonna have to go ahead and I was gonna have to set that thing on fire. And this is where the emotional support and the logical support comes in. I called up my best friend, my brother, I call him B. I called him up and I asked him, I told him, bro, I said, this is what the situation is. And I said, right now, I already know that I'm not in a state to where I'm thinking logical. I'm thinking like emotional. And like I've done plenty of times in my life, whenever I know that I'm not in a state to where I'm having any clarity, that I'm not making sound decisions, that I'm making too emotional decisions, I hit him up and ask him, bro, and I tell him just like this, not even tell him. I just ask him, I just tell him the situation. And I say, whatever you tell me to do, bro, I was like, I'm going to do it. And I told him, this is what I want to do. And this is what I said I'm going to do. So I put that on the table too as an option. If you tell me, go ahead and set it on fire, we're going to be roasting marshmallows, you hear me? And I said, but if you tell me anything different, I'm going to do whatever that is. So like I said, like he's done so many plenty of times, and vice versa, I've done for him. He set me down, he talked to me, he kind of calmed me down, like I said, because at that point I was really like upset, I was really hurt, and I was really in a state to where I was really just bothered at the fact that not only that it was the situation of not feeling the family dynamic of it, but just that was another thing that I was feeling stuck. I was like, I've been trying to like do something to get out of this place of where I was at the time, and I was trying to make this move to like make this new life and make this new start and everything of that sort, but no matter what, it kept seeming like everything was pulling me back. Nothing was going in my favor. So I like, at this point, I was like, I'm going to do whatever I got to do in order to get out of here. And that was, at this point, I was ready to set this thing on fire. So B, he looks at me and he calls me, like I said, we're on the phone. He said, listen, he's like, with the calmest voice, he's like, man, he said, you don't need fire. He said, you need water. And I was like, what you mean? He said, the water. He said, if you cut that water off, how much longer you think they'll be able to stay in there? And I said, He said, you're right. He said, trust me, you cut their water off, eventually they're going to start stinking. Eventually they're going to get thirsty. Eventually they're going to have to get up out of there. And you've done everything that you could and have done in order to like get through there. He said, with that water, you're not harming them. You're not putting yourself in danger. You're not putting you're not putting them in danger, and you're not doing anything that could like be looked as something that could be, anything that bad in this situation. So I'm like, you're right. So I'm like, all right. So sure enough, I call the water company. I tell them, hey, at this time tomorrow, cut that water off. So I went back to the house as smooth as that, anything like that. I didn't make no argument or nothing. I came in that house with a big smile on my face because I knew at 8 o'clock that morning, that water was going to cut off. And it was up to them at that point to decide what they was going to do. And sure enough, the next morning, me and my son, we got up early. We ate. We had a good hot shower, and then we peeled up out of there. I know y'all probably thinking like, damn, that's cold, but trust me, I'm really telling the nice version of it on their side versus on my side type of deal, however that's supposed to be worded. So yeah, sure enough, the water get cut off. Like I said, eventually we and her, and like I said, it was another moving parts, like I said, that went into that, we still trying to make amends on that. But that was a tough part. But honestly, like I said, the biggest highlight I want to take from that is I had that friend to like call on for that logical support. We talk about emotional support so much, especially when it comes to like the mental health, but that logical support is so key. And like I said, B, he was one of those persons, like I said, to continue to like get me through those times. It was plenty of times that I had to go through certain periods in my life that I was just too much in an emotional state that I couldn't like really just make the best sound decisions that I needed in order to like move forward in my life and make sure that I don't keep taking setbacks and doing things like that. And he was always that sound advice because he was somebody who knew me. He knew me enough to know that if I were in a clear mind state, he knew me enough to know what decision I would make. He knew me, he knows me enough to that, like I said, whenever I told him, you tell me whatever you tell me whatever you tell me to do, I'm gonna do. That's something that like a bond that we've grown over the years to where he has that type of authority and that type of influence in my life to where we don't have to discuss it. Once I tell you the situation as if me and you, if you were in my shoes, which he does, and then whatever comes after that, that's what I'm gonna do with no questions asked. I'm gonna have to think twice about it by any means because, like I said, he knows who I am, what I stand for, what I want for my life. And like I said, in those times that I'm not being who I am and I'm not being a best reflection of myself, he's able to step in and to provide the support in order to keep me moving forward. And one of the things about support, we talk about support all the time and what that looks like. A lot of time when we think about support, we think about financial support. But the thing about support is also something, whenever you look it up, is being able to bear that weight. And that's the thing is, like I said, depression, mental health, whatever the case may be, it's a lot of things in our life is a weight. And that's the thing that whenever you have those people in your circles of people that you call friends, and not all friends are supporters, and not all supporters are friends, but you gotta, and that's another different conversation for another day. But just being able to have those people in your circle that you can delegate, that can bear that weight with you, and whatever the case may be. And like those times like that, like I had in that story, he bared that weight with me. He was able to step in and be something that I needed him to be. And I needed him to be something in my mind that we can move forward. So I'm starting to think about things in order for y'all to give homework for you guys. Because that's the thing. We got to grow. We got to do homework. We got to do whatever's best for everybody around, right? You got to be able to just so like I said, figure out the friends and the supporters and friends. Because like I said, they're not always the same. And that's one of the lessons that I also had to learn too. It's not just because people are friends, that don't mean they are supporters as well. A lot of times we make friends, and especially in this day and era, it's one of those things to where a lot of friendships are transactional. And what do I mean by that? Essentially is that if they are not, it's like, what can you do for me? And what can I do for you? And then once they're not bringing any value in our lives, then we kind of cut ties with them. But then what's the trade-off from that? Because like I said, everything has a trade-off. Then there comes a time in your life where you're really going through something and you need that friend, you need that support, but they're not around. And you want, oh, they're not around. When we were doing this, everybody was around. But you got to ask yourself and take some responsibility for yourself. Did you make that situation like that? Did y'all build that friendship on transactional? Because I know plenty of people who be like, if it ain't about money, I ain't got time. If we ain't talking about money, I ain't got no time for you. So when you talk about money, whenever you're going through these certain times in your life, then don't expect them to be there. So that's the thing. It's like we sometimes, like I see a lot of people kind of set themselves up for failure. They play the victim, but you got to think not every friendship and not every time of the day. Listen, I get the value of time. I get the value of, like I said, money. But at the end of the day, that doesn't always necessarily come out to be what is greater in life, what's greater for your life, what's greater in the sense of like what's going to happen or what's not going to happen down the road. Being able to sit there and be in a position to where when you need that support, that you have that support, you built that support system. And that's the thing about it, like a system is something, is a bunch of projects that, are a bunch of projects and a bunch of programs make up a system. So there are going to be times in life that you already know who those people that are support going to be there. Because there'll be different times that there are small situations that occur that you can lean on to the support system. So my homework for you guys is do a little, social experiment with your friends, and just not something extreme. Don't go out the way and make anything extreme, but figure out ways to where you can figure out who is in your support group, who's going to be the ones that's going to be whenever something grand or big or even small comes into your life, you already know offhand who that person is going to be, who those persons are going to be, and what are their best qualities. What are your own best qualities whenever you come to be support? A lot of times we try to be a support in ways that we're not our best ways of support. Kind of similar to like the 5 love languages, if y'all are familiar with that. The way I support you might not be the way that I receive support. So just being able to like self-evaluate yourself, figure out how you're able to support people. A lot of times, like I said, we think of support, we think of financing, and that's not always the case. And that's not all. So a lot of times, that's not the support that most people need, even when they're in a situation to where they are in a financial strain. That financial support might seem like the best immediate remedy, but it's one of those things to where you got to be able to also know that there can be something else done. You could be the one that's able to like draw out a plan, map out a plan for them. It could be a situation like, hey, I'm not able to give you like $100 right now, but I am in a position to where I can help you budget. I can help you build out a plan. I can help you do things that are able to like get to that point. And I know a lot of people gonna say, y'all probably looking at me, I be trying to do that, but they don't be want to hear that. They just want the bread. Trust me, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But just making sure you're in a position to where you're moving forward, we're doing the best that you can from what you're capable of doing to support, but also learning how you receive support. If you're one of those people where whenever things come and you need support, and if you don't get it the way you want it, then you're not open. You cut yourself off. You cut yourself short. You don't know what that support looks like. And if you're not wrapped how you want it to be wrapped, then I understand you might end up missing out on your blessing. Because a lot of time I feel like that's the case. A lot of times things come for us that's going to be good for us, but when it's not wrapped in a position, it's not wrapped in a nice gift and a nice bow, like it normally has, or how they expect it, then they'll miss out on it. They'll miss out every time. It's like this one little story that I said, and I'm about to get ready to wrap up and close up for the day. It's like this lady, she was stuck on a roof and the water was rising. And she was telling the guy that like, my God's going to save me. He'll send a boat will come. She'll tell like, don't worry about it. My God going to save me. And he's like, all right, it'll go on. Boom. Another boat comes. Same thing. God going to save me. Boom. Another boat come on. God going to save me. Boom. Eventually she drowns. She goes to heaven. She like, God, why you didn't save me? And he like, bro, I sent you 3 boats. What do you mean? But that's the thing. She had already in her mind had how she already foreseen that God was going to save her, how God was going to support her, and she missed all those boats. So I'm telling you today, Eric, like I said, keeping with the thing of friendships, the ships, don't miss the boat. Don't miss that support you need. Don't miss that opportunity for you to be in that boat as well. And y'all know what it is, man. It's that last one. It's the one and only Moody was here. We got about, and then, like I said, man, bundle up for me, make it all good for me, because I'm about to get cold and out here in these Chi-Town streets. But until next time, in the meantime, man, y'all make sure y'all log in 102.5 FM, man. Y'all make sure you holler at me, follow me. Moody was here, man. And until next Monday, y'all know what to do, man. Moody was here is another Moody Monday, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.
All righty. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Moody Monday. I appreciate you. Have fun in Chicago while the rest of us deal with this ice and snow that's coming down here.
I already know it. I'm going to go out here and throw a couple snowballs and, see what that looks like.
All right. Until next week, we will catch you later.
See you guys.
All right, take care.